Hi everyone, Ryan here, Ion Capital Solutions. Hope you're doing well. Today I want to help you find a way to basically spot a bad deal before you waste time on it. Okay, many of us are playing the numbers game out there. We're trying to essentially work with as many clients as we can, grab their information, forward it to the lender, and hope that the deal funds. And the reality is we're wasting time on bad files when we do that. Imagine for a second you're in a riverbed, right? Sifting through the riverbed with a pan in hand, sifting through the mud for gold, right? Well, how can you identify the gold and quickly and stack it neatly? That's your qualified applicants, right? That you can submit to the lender for a commission. If you're giving each grain of sand in that riverbed the attention you feel it deserves with your customer service hat on. You can't. You're going to be there forever sifting through that mud, right? That riverbed, instead of focusing on getting to the gold quickly. So, with that being said, again, here's how to spot a bad deal before you waste time. Okay, let's dive right in, shall we? So, we've all heard this term, pre-qualification. You have to pre-qualify. However, I believe that many people in this space are not correctly pre-qualifying their clients. The pre-qualification process seems to be a more conversation of who are you and less do you actually qualify. So what I mean by that is, if it's for instance, if we're looking at business funding, it's a merchant cash advance. You'll say to them, what type of business is it, right? Where is your business located? What is your percentage of ownership, right? Are you seasonal? What percentage of business are you doing in credit card transactions, whatever it is? How much money do you need? That's the pre-qualification. It's almost an acceptance of working with that individual where this just gathering some basic information in a survey and then we're handing off to the lender. There's no actual qualification really going on. There's no disqualification going on to where we're asking the harder questions. Same thing with real estate. It's, hey, do you need money? How much money do you need? What type of loan product do you need? Okay, stand by, send your docs in. I'm going to forward to the lender. It's this acceptance of the deal, regardless of what the deal entails, instead of killing that deal early on if it's a waste of your time, right? And so let me dive in a little bit more into what I mean. So, first of all, please understand, discovery calls are not about you. When you get on the phone with a new client, you shouldn't be spending all of that time talking about you and what you offer and letting the client ask you a million questions so they can decide whether or not they want to work with you. You've already lost if that's what you're doing. The call is about discovering information about them and the deal to understand whether or not this is somebody that you want to work with. That's the call. You quickly present your value. Here at Ion, we simply say the value of what we provide is a quote for free, usually within 24 hours without pulling your credit, to let you know it's available to you in the nationwide marketplace. So whatever's needed, we can certainly help you. We represent the top lenders in the real estate investment funding and general business funding marketplace, okay? So what we need to understand is what you look like on paper, you as the owner, the entity, your cash flow, your liquidity, your assets. That's what we focus on, right? And we turn the tables at the client. And then we pre-qualify. So what do I mean by that? Well, ask the right questions is the most important bit. Okay. So more specifically, if we're looking at a general business funding deal, for instance, okay, we want to ask the client, what's your actual revenue? Right? So any business funding product is going to be based on their revenue, not their deposits. So when you ask a client how much are you grossing a month and they say 100,000, then you should ask them again. Okay, how much of that is actual revenue? Oh, well, last month I did this and this month I did that and the previous month I did that. Okay, excluding deposits, excluding wires and transfers from other accounts that you have. By the way, if we see that on the bank statement, we're going to need to see additional bank statements from those other accounts. And excluding wires from lenders of loans that you've got, how much of that money is actual revenue? You need to put the pressure on the client, because if you just accept the deal and accept what they say, odds are they're going to be lying to you. Okay? And so you think you have a deal and you don't. When you ask them if they have debt, they say, oh, I have one position with so-and-so, it's or whatever. Okay, then you ask again, what's your actual debt? How many loans do you have? In other words, positions. What did you borrow? When did you borrow it? How much do you still owe on it? Have you stopped payments? Have you defaulted on the loan? And they say, oh, no, no, no. I'm going to ask again, are you sure? Have you stopped payments? Have you defaulted on the loan? You need to put the pressure on. You need to qualify this client. And if they're giving you answers, well, I had an account and I had some fraud in my account. They were going into the account and just taking money out of it without my permission. No, that's not fraud. That's a daily or a weekly payment. You signed an ACH authorization form and you took a cash advance, which allows them to take your money out. That's how repayment of a MCA works. So there was no fraud going on. So what did you do? You put a stop on it. You closed the account. Yes, I did. Okay, you defaulted. I can't help you. See you later. Get off the phone. That's qualifying a client, right? Asking, are you willing to take another expensive loan? Your credit is, $585. You're grossing roughly $35,000, $40,000 a month. You're a seasonal business. You're not getting a term loan. You're not getting an SBA. You're not getting any of these things. You can get a short-term, high-interest loan based on what you got in the past. It'll probably be something a little similar to that. Maybe I can get the interest a little bit lower. I can get you a weekly instead of a daily, but, is that what you want? If they're, no, I don't want another cash advance. I'm not interested in that. I want a single-digit interest rate. I want a monthly payment. Okay, I can't help you. Do you have a piece of real estate we can do a cash-out refi on? You can eject cash out of equity. I can raise capital for you that way. Can we do that? You don't have real estate? I can't help you. Good luck to you. And you get off the phone. This is what it means to qualify clients, okay? And so that's the conversation you should be having a hard conversation. It's going to do a couple things for you. It's going to save your time. You're not going to waste your time on doc collection and doc chasing and phone calls and dealing with the lender and all that. You're also going to get respect from the client by asking questions like this because they're going to know you're not fooling around. They're going to know that you're serious and they're going to bring their level up to meet your level of business. And that's what you want. You have to demand respect. You have to lead. You have to control the narrative. This is how you do it. Simply being all please and thank you and accepting of whatever information they give and then over-promising, I'll help you, I'm going to get it over to the lender, we're going to have a fast turnaround, we're going to get you the money you need. You don't know that. You don't know that. If you knew, you'd be deeply going into the file up front to figure out whether or not it's even worth your time. Then you'd be underwriting the file yourself. Then you know if you can help them. Promising up front that you can and playing the numbers game, it's not going to work out. You might get lucky once in a blue moon, but it's not a business model. It's gambling, right? Anyway, let's look at real estate. We need to ask the investor or the investment firm, do you have roughly 30% of the cash required for the project? In liquid cash, escrow, 401k, do you have it? If you don't have it, do you have a property with enough equity we can tap to eject cash out so you can have that liquid cash to show? You don't have that money? Okay, I can't help you. Let me know when you do have that money. Right? Can you go the 100% financing route with them? Sure, you could. Is it going to end up being more expensive than hard money? Most likely. Okay, so let them know that up front. We can look into that. It's possible, but it's not that simple. Okay? Do you have relevant experience in the past 2 years? You want money for a fix and flip, for a buy and hold, for a new construction. You want a portfolio, whatever it may be. Have you in the last couple of years borrowed money for this type of project, paid it back on time, and earned a profit? What's your track record, your relevant track record? If there is none, you don't have experience. If you don't have experience and you want this money, it's not likely they're going to get what they want. Can we help a first-time flipper? Sure. Somebody wants to do a big commercial or new construction project without experience, they've never borrowed money like that before? No, it's not even worth your time. And they likely don't even understand how the process works to begin with. Do you have cash? Do you have experience? Do you have a property lined up? Are you ready to go? Is there actually a deal here in place? Whether it's the purchase, whether it's ground up and they have land that they're looking at, whatever it is, are you ready to go? If not, well, I'm not sure and I'm looking around. I want to give it a try in a few months from now. Okay, give me a call back in a few months. Next. Don't waste your time. Qualify up front. Make sure you actually have a deal. And you'll notice here in the last slide and this slide, we have a calculator up top. And we have a calculator up top because you need to have your calculator out. You need to be working the numbers for yourself. Okay, if we back it up for business to business for a second, we need to understand you can afford at a maximum 16 to 18% of your monthly gross revenue to be going out the door in repayment of a loan. That's what lenders will allow in the business funding space at a maximum. So it's not how much you want, it's how much you can afford. How much is currently coming out of your monthly gross revenue in repayment of other loans? How much can you afford based on your cash flow? And then you have to be able to calculate the numbers. Okay, you want X amount of dollars. That money, based on an average factor, usually is around a 140, 138. In other words, 38 to 40% interest, right? So if they wanted $100,000, it would cost them $138,000 or $140,000 to pay back that loan, right? Okay, based on the average term, is it 8 months? Is it 10 months? Is it going to be 3, 4, 5 months? You have to know, depending on how high risk the client is. Based on that number of months, you want to divide up that payback by that number of months to know what the monthly expenditure will be for the client. Is that within, at a maximum, 16 to 18% of their monthly gross revenue? If it exceeds it, they can't afford the money. You need to give them less. Are they willing to accept less? That's how you figure out if you have a deal. Same thing with real estate. Work the numbers for yourself. There's the loan to value ratio. There's the after repair value. You have to understand coverage, and these bits and pieces play into it. When they talk about the purchase price, the cost of the rehab, and all these different things, are they unrealistic about what they think they can get for the property? If they want to do a cash out refi, whatever it may be, you need to be able to work these numbers out for yourself and ascertain as to whether or not there's actually a deal to be had. If the numbers line up and make sense, if this person knows what they're talking about. If you don't, do you have a deal? Is it going to fund? Does it make sense? Or are you just wasting your time? This is the point. This is really the point, okay? And I'm going to say something here that really needs to be taken constructively. Do your job. It's not the job of the underwriting team for the lender to do your job for you. In other words, to qualify your client and underwrite the file for you. It's not. It's your job. If you're a loan broker, your profession is qualifying applicants, providing consultation, helping them navigate the space, and tailoring solutions for them. And those solutions are the solutions provided by your lender partners. You're not just supposed to forward to the lenders and hope that it works out. You're not doing your job. Right? Frank Sonnenberg said, dependency purges people of their dreams, makes their spirit atrophy, and enslaves them to a lifetime of mediocrity. Okay? Jack Welch said, control your own destiny or somebody else will. It's just perfectly put. It's just so true. If you don't want to waste your time, if you want to make money in this space, you've got to control your own destiny. You cannot be dependent on others to do your job for you. You have to do your job. And the sooner you do it, the better off you are, the less time you waste. So have the hard conversation up front. Be willing to have that conversation. Be willing to stand up to your client. Be willing to say these things. It'll help you make more money. And isn't that the point? Isn't that why you're doing this? Right? Because the reality is, if you're not doing that, you're doing this. You're playing the lottery. Look at these lottery tickets as applications for funding. Imagine filling out each one and having a phone call with the client, collecting information, and then forwarding to the lender. And then the lender wants this document and that document, only for them to inevitably kill the deal because there was something wrong with it that you didn't ask about up front. It could be a bankruptcy. It could be default. It could be another owner of the business that's defaulted recently that you didn't even know existed because you didn't ask about ownership up front. Sure, but it could also be just flat out affordability. Maybe their profit and loss and corresponding balance sheet don't line up. Maybe the tax returns don't line up, doesn't show actual affordability. Sure, the last 3 months bank statements look good for whatever reason, but long term, the picture doesn't look good. The lender's not feeling good about the deal itself. You need to be able to measure their annual affordability. Look back and see what the repayment's going to look like. You know, if the last 3 months look great, what about the next 6 months? What have those months looked like in the previous year? Those are the repayment months. Are those down months, weak months, because they're a seasonal business? The lender's not going to feel comfortable, right? And so on and so forth. We need to understand that. We don't want to waste our time doing paperwork and chasing documents and having unrealistic expectations of the deal working out and getting our client to hold on while we try and pull it together and then falling to pieces when the deal doesn't work out because the lender says no. That's just gambling. You're buying lottery tickets, applications, right? You're buying leads, you're getting applications in, you're forwarding to the lender, like taking these lottery tickets and mailing them in or bringing them to the store clerk, right? And hoping that your winning numbers come up. That's not a business model. That's going to only lead to a lot of wasted time. And that's just the truth, okay? So that's the lasting impression I want to give you. Stop gambling. Start controlling your destiny. Understand how to make the most of your time and understand how to disqualify clients right away so that they're not eating up your valuable time. Very important, okay? All this and more here on our YouTube channel. If you're not yet subscribed, please do subscribe. Thanks so much for following us. I'll catch you in the next video.